guys, welcome back. Today is the first video in a series that's designed to help you guys get better at drafting. In this video, we're going to talk about my top 5 tips for you guys to implement while you're in the drafting process. Let's go ahead and kick it off with number 1, making sure you're playing the right format. So when you guys are toggled on to all play modes, you'll actually notice that there are 3 or 4 different types of draft. There's going to be Premier Draft, Quick Draft, Traditional, and sometimes an additional Flashback Draft. If you would like to get the value rundown on all of these different drafts, I actually have another video I will link in the description for you. But in this video, because we're targeting newer players who are just learning to draft, we're going to talk about Quick Draft, because that's typically where I think you guys should be starting. As you can see, Quick Draft has the cheapest entry fee, 750 gems or 500 gold, which you can get about every 4 days in quests. The nicest thing about Quick Draft is that there is no timer, so when you are just learning the cards, it is the perfect opportunity for you to really take your time when crafting your deck. You can also start and stop your draft anytime if you want to consult with friends, or maybe even a set review or something like that. Quick Draft is the format that's most accessible for free-to-play players who don't typically have a ton of experience in Limited. This results in a more inexperienced player base, giving you the opportunity for a better result. Tip number 2, consume lots of content. A lot of the people who are trying to get better at drafting already know how to play Magic, so watching a creator go through an entire draft might not be the most beneficial thing for you. What I recommend is finding a Limited streamer that you really like, or a YouTuber, and watch the first 20 minutes of their drafts, and then you do that repeatedly over and over again, and you get a ton of experience in a set without actually having to spend all of the money in the learning process. As you can see here, the top couple of drafts here, they're like an hour, hour and a half, which is a really long time. There's a ton of gameplay, which is beneficial, but if you're trying to learn the drafting process, I definitely recommend the first 15-ish minutes of every video. The content creator will talk their thoughts out loud and really tell you guys why things are rated the way that they are. Also, at the beginning of the set, you can scroll down a little bit farther and you can see that there are a ton of creators that do limited set reviews as well. This is my particular page, and if, maybe that's not your cup of tea, I've got a couple other ones to show you as well. So you want to be watching the draft process for as many drafts as you can, and you want to be checking out these set reviews. This is Jim Davis's channel. He's got set reviews for both Constructed and Limited, and he also does a Bronze to Mythic challenge where he does a ton of Limited in just like a 2-day series and tries to hit Mythic at the end of the month. It's very educational and can help you guys get a lot of experience with the set. Here is the Limited Resources channel. This is a huge one that's very popular. This is by Marshall Sutcliffe and LSV. So if you guys are interested in checking this one out, make sure you guys do so. They have not just set reviews, but also they talk about best commons, best uncommons, what rares to play, and they really give you a good base for all of your Limited knowledge. If you don't have a lot of time to watch YouTube videos, but you like to skim articles, you guys can check out channel Fireball, where LSV does his Limited articles. And there are other creators as well that do like best draft archetypes or anything you can think of, really. And this segment wouldn't be complete if I didn't show you guys my articles. These are largely based off of the YouTube videos that I do where I talk things out and give the cards a rating. I will basically then put that into text for people. You guys can keep this open on another monitor while you're drafting, especially if you're quick drafting, you have all the time in the world. So that's really helpful as well. The cool thing is you can actually take this strategy a step farther. You guys can download the Untap.gg overlay. This is a free product that you guys can use. I mean, it's got a paid membership part too for some extra bonus stuff, but it's really not necessary. But it's really cool in that the overlay itself actually puts a lot of these ratings up on the screen for you when you're actually drafting. These ratings were either from this cool stuff article from me or from the LSV articles, depending on like who they went with that month. So I hope that these resources will be helpful for you guys, and if you have any other resources you would like to share with other people trying to get better at draft, please leave them down below in the comment section. Tip 3, look at the pack carefully. Often when players are drafting, they're looking through the pack to find the best card, and then they pass the pack, and then they don't really think about it again. And I think that is going to be a really big mistake for those of you guys who are trying to get better at drafting. Taking note of what colors are in the pack, what signpost cards are in the pack, can definitely help you decide whether or not you need to pivot into a different deck, or if you are sitting in the right seat for your deck. The cards that stick out to me in this particular pack to take note of is going to be the Moon Dancer, which is a main part of the Life Gain deck, and the Ghoul, which is Red-Black Sacrifice, which happens to be the most popular archetype in Arena right now. You can actually see the untapped.gg overlay that's over on the left-hand side. It helps you with a lot of stats, gives you set reviews, all that kind of good stuff. Definitely worth checking out if you guys are interested in that side of getting better at Arena. The link is down below in the description. But you can see there that the Red-Black Sacrifice is the most popular. It also says that it gets the most 6 wins, which is pretty key. So paying attention to this, if you say, hey, let's take, the Lich, and you see this guy wheel around, then you have a really good idea that that is an open archetype that you can get into. So knowing what is in the pack so you can pay attention when things come back around helps you decide whether or not you're in the correct spot. Another reason I suggest this is because after you get a certain amount of experience with a set, you can start to kind of decide what cards are wheeling around, which helps you develop a bit of a plan. For example, blue is the most open color for me in the last few weeks. So if I decide, hey, I want to take this blue dragon, I'm very likely to get either the Scion or the Soul Knife Spy back. So that is a pretty valid option when, like let's say the rare is unplayable and you don't really see something. If you open up a little bit of a dud pack, you can kind of hedge your bets a little bit and develop a plan based on everything that's in the pack. Tip number 4, pay attention to your deck. A lot of drafters will actually just keep this overlay for drafting throughout the entire draft process. But drafting on Arena, we actually have a little bit of a bonus that you don't get when you're drafting in paper, and that's that you can actually see all of your cards during the process. So let's go ahead and just pick a couple of quick cards. Hey, this Mythic seems fun, let's draft it. I'm just gonna, pick a few cards pretty fast. Drop is a solid removal spell, keeps me in one color. Again, doing this very fast, but we're gonna take drop. And, let's mix up the color. Fangblade is a good card. Owlbear is decent. Let's take Owlbear just for the funsies. So, people see these cards above their head, but they don't really get a good sense of what the deck looks like. So one of the things I always recommend is there's a little toggle on the right-hand side that a lot of my viewers actually don't know exist. So I thought I'd show you guys. This will lay out your deck in CMC order and value. This also helps you decide whether or not you're short on creatures or spells or removal, which it's a little bit tougher to see when you're in the other overlay. This does make the cards a bit smaller. You can still hover over them, but I recommend at least switching back and forth. Having a good curve is super important for every limited deck. Oftentimes, picking the best card is not the right choice. We call it a deck curve because we like to see that nice bell shape. We want to have a few amount of early drops, mostly chunky middle drops, and a few higher end 6+ drops in limited. So viewing your deck as you go will help you fill in those spots as you need it. In addition to having a good curve, you're going to want to be checking your creature and removal count. A general rule of thumb is 10 to 16 creatures, depending upon the deck style. Now you can go less in certain decks, or you can go more in others, but that is a good rule of thumb for starting. Removal, I typically like to have as much as I can get as long as it's premium. I'm not going to run 6 or 7 shocks, but I would definitely run 6 or 7 lightning bolts. All right, now we've picked our draft format, we've consumed some content, we have read our signals and ensured that we had the correct ratio of spells in our deck. It's time to go ahead and get to our 5th and final tip. Tip 5, don't be too hard on yourself. Simply put, learning to draft is not easy, and it's a format that you have to constantly be learning over and over again each time a new set comes out. Even after you have the basics down of drafting, you still have to reevaluate new cards, and that can be difficult and they can often be very misleading. So don't be afraid to force an archetype or pick a rare to see how it performs. Sometimes, it takes hands-on experience to really get a good grasp for what works and what doesn't. So if your first few drafts don't go well, don't be too hard on yourself. That is experience that you got that you can take into your next drafts for better performance. This issue is often amplified when a player is coming into a set in the middle after it's been out for a little while. In the beginning of a set, everybody is struggling, so everybody has a lower overall performance. But after a set's been out for a little while, you're playing against people who have been playing the set for weeks or months. So definitely don't be too hard on yourself if you don't have all of the same knowledge that they do. The last thing I want to say about the subject is that a lot of my viewers say that they don't have the money to practice to get better at drafting so they can build their collection at a discount. I know I've mentioned this in other videos, but I hope it helps some of you new viewers. Creating a second account can actually be really helpful. My viewers will say, why would I create a second account if I can't keep the cards that I'm drafting? The answer is that you're going to be getting experience for that draft process. So every couple of days, you log on to that free-to-play account, get a few wins, and complete your quests. This will allow you to have a few drafts saved up when a set first comes out. With these 5+ drafts, you can actually get a ton of hands-on experience that'll allow you to perform better on your main account, giving you better performance and more cards. It's also easier to enjoy the drafting process and learning when there isn't any real-life money on the line. All right, guys, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed our 5 tips on getting better for draft. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below and let me know if there's any tips I missed so that way we can share them with all of our other viewers. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye! I'd like to give a special thank you to those of you who have signed up for our Patreon. I couldn't make this content without you. Also to Cool Stuff Inc. and KMC Sleeves for supporting the channel as well. Definitely check them out and use our discount codes to support the channel.